Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and we have a brand new breakdown for you today. It's going to be a comparison video of Elaine Thompson and Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. We recently did a breakdown on Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, and it really showed how great her start was. And so what I wanted to do is compare her with Elaine Thompson, who's another top women's sprinter, to just see how much better Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is in comparison to other top women sprinters. As always, if you like the information, go ahead and click the thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, go ahead and leave those down below. We'll hop in the video right now. Okay, so we have Elaine Thompson here on the right, and she's also here actually. And we have Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce right here. And the reason that I just wanted to do the other side by side is just to be because as they get going, you don't get as good of a reading, and you can't see Elaine Thompson is good there. So we have the side by side, but big thing that I want to see is just within those first three steps. As we know, with Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, she is able to get to that 0.1, so we could see where she lands. She lands at 8.2, 3.82 there, and then it's back off the ground at about 9.2, maybe 9.3. So she's at about 0.1, maybe 0.12 at the most with that foot contact time within that first three steps, right? And so we'll go ahead and go into Elaine Thompson here. And first thing that stands out to me with Elaine Thompson is excellent job with the spine positioning. This is a common thing we see within basically all the top sprinters in the world. They're able to get themselves into such a great starting position. The one thing I'd say is like her, she's just not in a great position with the spine, right? And that's a thing that I hope that everybody watching these videos really starts to understand is what does getting your hips through all the way look like and feel like, and what does inhibiting your knee drive or hip flexion look like. And I would say that this is definitely more what it looks like, and this is more what getting your hips all the way through and getting a great knee drive would look like. So make sure that you're getting yourself in a good spine position when you're starting, or else you're going to really have a negative impact on your start. So we can see her land here at 6.81, and then she's pushing off a little bit after 9.8, maybe 9.8 to right at 7. So she's at about 0.17 to 0.19 foot contact time on that first step. Lands at about 0.04 there. It's off at 2.21, so again 0.27, 0.17, sorry. Lands at 0.24. And yeah, it's off at about 0.38. So she's at about 0.14 to maybe 0.16 for contact time in comparison to Elaine Thompson, which is again 0.1 to 0.12. So just to really clarify how great it was that Shelly-Ann Pryce was able to get to such a great position of and contact time so quickly, right? And she obviously wins this race as well on the left. And a big part of that just has to do with her get off, right? And already in this position, she's out in front of everybody. And she really, they have to be using about the same coach because they have such a similar position in this drive phase, right? So they get out and you can see how much of an emphasis they put on getting those knees up and really driving through. And they're both at like that same spine angle, right? You can see how they're both kind of positioned where they're really almost trying to fall forward. I love that coaching point where it's like when you're first starting, you really want to feel like your body's like falling forward. You're so far up onto your toes that you feel yourself going that much forward in your sprinting style, which I think really makes a big difference in being able to run as fast as you can and really get into a great drive phase overall, right? Because that drive phase is super important as you get into your top speed, because if you don't have an effective drive phase, that will, one, make it so you end up not being able to get to your top speed, but two, that also makes it so if you don't do a good job of getting yourself all the way out of your drive phase, it'll make it so you'll become very, very inefficient in your overall running style, and it'll make it so then you end up losing races at the end. And so being the best runners, the best sprinters are able to get through their drive phase very, very efficiently, get into their top end speed phase, and that allows them to continue to build speed as they're getting going. And then for that last 50 meters or so, really get to their top speed. But if you have an inefficient drive phase, that makes it so now your body isn't able to sustain the top end speed as long, which then makes it so you end up being inefficient and losing races at the end. So being able to be very, very focused on where your body is and continue to fall forward. And then from there, being able to slowly kind of lift your body up so you don't rush yourself into your top end speed phase, but you slowly, gradually get there is something that I think is very, very important. It's an art that all these top sprinters are able to do excellently, and it's something that you have to be able to build yourself to be able to achieve. All right, so now let's look into the top end speed and let's see where they're at here. So let's see the foot contact here is at 1.1 on the left. We've already seen how fast Shelly-Ann's is. You know, she's at 4.6 with the contact, and she's back off at, you know, 5.2. It's about, but yeah. So she's probably touching closer to 4.4, and then off by 5.2. So she's at a 0.08. You know, we already went over 0.07 to 0.08 in terms of her foot contact time. That's a 0. So she's landing. We got Elaine Thompson landing here on the left. She's off again quick too, 118. So that's a pretty quick one too. And we got Elaine Thompson here landing on the right side. She's probably landing about 0.26 and off about 3.8. So yeah, she's at about 0.08 as well within her time. Now, what's interesting with Elaine Thompson is she's really not getting that triple extension as she's pushing off, right? This is something that has been something I've really realized a lot more recently. It's something that I realized with Usain Bolt and right now here with Elaine Thompson is that triple extension is really not 100% needed thing when you're pushing off. What's more important is being able to drive that knee and get extension out in front of you, right? See how all these sprinters get that extension out in front of them when they're running, but there's a lot of them that actually don't get extension with their legs back behind them. They stay in a slight knee flexion, and I think that helps in being able to get a more efficient turnover, because as we talked about before, really most of your force is going to be coming out of your sprint when you're initially hitting the ground. So it's this point right here when you're hitting the ground where all your force is being generated. So if that's the case, then it really doesn't matter how much extension you get when you're pushing off, because it just matters how fast you can get that leg back up and through to be able to then get another nice hard step, forceful step into the ground. So if you end up spending too much time trying to extend back behind you and pushing off back behind you, it will negatively impact your ability to cycle your leg back through, which will impact the timing of your foot hitting the ground, and it'll also impact when you're hitting the ground how much force that you're able to create. All right, so one of the things that we also looked into Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is, you know, she's at 8.32 here with her turnover, 6.6. So she's got a 0.34 turnover time in comparison to Elaine Thompson. Let's see hers. So she's leaving the ground at about, let's say 6.0. And yeah, she's hitting the ground about 9.5 as well. So 0.35. So really, they're pretty similar in terms of their top speed. So it ends up being the big difference between these two really comes a lot down to the start. I mean, you can see Elaine Thompson is just dominating the field here in the race here. But, you know, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce did a great job in the Olympics and being able to win this. Or I think this is actually, this is Doha from 2019. Anyway, big thing is that Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce had a great start. Look at how much she got out in front of Elaine Thompson from the start. And then from there, you know, she just didn't have enough to be able to catch her, right? And just was able to maintain that top end speed, right? But they're really quite even in terms of their foot contact time, in terms of their turnover time. There's a lot of things that are very, very similar between these two women sprinters. And that's why I think they do a great job in terms of being able to maximize their force production, and why they're both at the top game. I'm sure they train with each other, just looking at their drive phase and everything that has to do with their mechanics. They have to be constantly pushing each other as well, which is why they both are achieving such great levels, is because I'm sure they work together to be able to push each other to do better and better and better, which is always important. You need to have a great workout partner. You need somebody that's going to be able to push you and, you know, wants the best for you, because if you don't have that, then I think that really takes a negative toll on you. So make sure you have great people around you. Make sure you have people around you that are pushing you, and I think that'll make a big difference in your outcome, looking back, you know, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, on whether or not you're able to accomplish your goals. All right, as always, thanks for watching these videos, guys. We have a ton of great content down below. We have some free mechanics guide, we have a speed program, we have an ebook, a lot of things that can help you out as a sprinter. Would love for you to be able to check that out. If you guys have any questions, be happy to hear from you. Go ahead and send me an email. All my information is down below. As always, we'll talk to you soon.